everyone, thanks for watching. This video is going to be all about packing for your crew at Walt Disney World Summer Mission. I asked some of my friends that went on the mission with me, what are some things that you packed that you realized as you were on the trip you didn't actually need? And what are some things that you didn't pack that you realized that you did need? So crew will give you a list of some general packing guidelines and things that are helpful to have, but you will also, there's a few things that maybe you wouldn't expect to need. So that's what this video is hopefully all about, to kind of fill in those gaps or emphasize what's really important or what to bring or not to bring, and hopefully it'll help you out if you're packing for your crew at Walt Disney World Summer Mission. For those of you flying, I asked one friend what she would recommend as far as packing for flying, and she said that she brought 2 big suitcases and checked them in her baggage, and so she definitely was glad that she did that because it made taking stuff home a lot easier. So even though it feels like a lot, definitely it is helpful to have that extra space to bring stuff with you if you're able. So the first thing that a lot of my friends mentioned when I asked them is that they forgot to bring professional clothes or things that were good for your first couple days of training. So there are 3 days of training in which you won't be in your costume that you're going to be working in the park in, so you have to wear these business professional clothes. Disney does have very specific guidelines for what length pants or skirts need to be, or what kind of shirts you can wear, or if they have sleeves or those kind of things that are very specific. And so that's something to consider when you're packing, to make sure that you have kind of business professional clothes that you can wear on those days that abides by those guidelines. I know some friends had to go out and buy things because they forgot, so I think this is where that's helpful. If you can already bring some things that you have, then that will help you out on those first few days. 2 of the days are more classroom days, so you're inside, you're sitting a lot of the day, there's not a whole lot of walking. But the 3rd day, there is a part where you will go and walk a good bit, probably about 2 miles, I think. And so it is important to have shoes that fit under that business, kind of casual professional and abide by the Disney look, but that also are comfortable enough to walk around in. I know some friends didn't have comfortable shoes for that 3rd day of walking, so definitely that's something to keep in mind when you're packing those shoes for your professional days. The next thing to make sure I bring, and a lot of my friends reinforce this, is a good rain jacket. It rains almost every afternoon in Florida, usually only for 30 minutes to an hour or maybe a little bit more, but it just downpours. And so definitely having that rain jacket so that you can still come and go is very helpful, and definitely something that we would all recommend. The next clothing item is maybe 1 or 2 jackets. I know that I had 1 jacket that I brought, and it was definitely helpful for when we would go into church for our sessions during the week or things like that, and it was cold inside the building, but then of course once you go outside, it's Florida and it's hot. So it's definitely helpful to have a jacket for those times in the room or when you're in the church and it's cold, but definitely wouldn't say you need more than 2 jackets because it gets really warm, and so you don't really need them. Same thing I would say for pants and long sleeve shirts. I think I brought 1 pair of jeans and then my professional pants, and that was all that I really brought as far as pants in Florida, just because it is so warm all the time that I never had an occasion where I wish I had brought more pants. So that's my take on it. I know another friend did mention that she brought a lot of long sleeve shirts and realized that she didn't need them. So definitely up to you, but I don't think you need a whole lot of them because you will be wearing shorts and kind of short sleeves most of the time because of how warm it is. Something else to pack is warm PJs. I know that it was really cold in our room, and I think in several of the other rooms that we stayed in. I'm not sure why. I think we had a thermostat, but we kept it cold most of the time. So if you're someone who's warm-natured, or even if you're not just having like a warmer pair of PJs or a blanket to go on your bed as well, a friend recommended bringing that, as several of us ended up buying blankets once we were there because it was just cooler at night. So bring a set of warm PJs, or if you want to plan on buying some, I bought some fun Disney ones while I was there, so it was kind of fun to have an opportunity to buy some, but up to you if you want to bring some from home or if you want to make that purchase when you get there. One friend suggested that they wish they had brought more socks to wear with their costume. And while that is super important because you're wearing those socks every day, I know that for Casey's we had special socks that we had to wear. So if I had brought a lot of socks, then I wouldn't have used all of them because of the way my costume is. So I might suggest if you want to bring some, you can, or if you want to wait until you get there, you can always go to Walmart and get some socks there to kind of supplement whatever you need. If you work in food service, you'll receive non-slip black shoes to wear. So don't worry about bringing shoes to wear to work because those will be provided to you with your costume. I know that our friends in merchandise did have to get their own black shoes, but Disney's really specific, and so they'll tell you once you kind of start training and when you go and get your costume what kind of shoes you need to wear, and that's just something I would recommend buying when it's there. One friend said that she would recommend making sure that you bring good tennis shoes for walking. You do a lot of walking just when you go to the parks or just going around sharing on different days, and so a good pair of tennis shoes is helpful. If you're like me, I prefer to wear sandals because it does rain a lot. So people that wore tennis shoes often would have their shoes really wet after it would downpour. And so I liked having sandals. My feet were comfortable enough in them, and so I could just walk around and then my feet would dry after it rained. But it is still worth it to have a pair of tennis shoes there, even if you don't wear them all the time, because on some days of walking it is just helpful to have those comfortable shoes and give your feet a break. As far as the amount of clothes to bring, it definitely depends on whether you're driving or flying. I know that people who were flying definitely had to worry much more about making sure that they packed small amount of stuff and kind of keeping it small. And then you'll also know that you're going to buy things there. So if you end up buying Disney t-shirts or things like that, make sure to take that into account when you're packing as well. I know one friend said she underpacked on things like dresses to wear to our kind of end of our time there banquet, or just to church and things like that. So she wishes she had brought a few more dresses. I know for me, I wish that I brought maybe a few more fun things to wear to the parks. I love dressing up when I go to the parks, it's just me, but I ended up re-wearing a lot of the same outfits on a lot of different days, and so I wish that I brought maybe a few different things that I decided to leave at home because I wasn't sure how storage was going to be. But there was plenty of space for clothes, so if you have things that you would like to bring or you'd like wearing to the parks, don't be afraid to bring them if you have the space to do so. Moving on, I want to give a few suggestions regarding kind of household things or things that you'll use in your house while you're staying there. This is something that I would suggest. I drove down to Florida, and so I had a lot of space in my car that I could take lots of different things that I have for college. And one thing that I wish I brought was maybe some storage things, like a little bin to keep all of my toiletry items in the bathroom, or just something to hold some of my items in the kitchen. Like some of my food items, and that's just something that I ended up buying while I was there, which was fine because it wasn't super expensive, but I had the items at home, and so then I had double when I came back. So maybe if there's things, if you're driving and you think you'll use it, then don't be afraid to bring it along. Another thing to note is that in the master closet there is also an iron and an ironing board. So I know that was a question I had, is if the house came with that, and it does. So don't worry about bringing an iron and ironing board because there is one there. The cleaning service also will change the sheets on the bed, and they do that weekly, as well as refresh all of the bathroom towels. So I know crew listed on their list to bring bathroom towels, which I did, but I ended up sending mine home because they bring the towels each week, and you can wash them more often if you want in the washer and dryer that's there, but because they brought them each week and they were really fine, I didn't want mine to get mixed up with theirs because mine were white also, so I ended up just sending mine home and I was able to use theirs. So that's something that I brought that I wish that I didn't bring. So Calypso does come with a TV in each room, but they don't have a DVD player. So I know I brought an HDMI cord, which was really helpful, so we could hook up a computer with Netflix or something to watch movies. One thing I would recommend is labeling that cord if you bring it, and just so that way it got passed around a couple different rooms, so just so that you make sure it gets back to you. Also, I'd recommend bringing some games and DVDs for things to do with friends. If you do bring DVDs, make sure that you label them so that you know that they're yours, because sometimes a movie might travel around to different people's rooms, but it's definitely helpful to have those to watch at different times with friends. And games, we played a lot of games, especially in the first kind of week or 2 weeks before we started working. We would go around to different people's rooms and play games and things like that. So definitely recommend bringing some games for those downtimes if you have favorites and you're able to bring those. For those of you who are note takers, I know I really am, and a lot of my other friends on the summer mission are. Some friends recommended bringing a fresh journal. That way you can fill it up with notes from your different sessions, or just journaling in your quiet time, or just different notes that you want to jot down things to remember. And then that way, at the end of the summer mission, you'll have a notebook to keep that has all of your notes in it. And also you do write a lot, so it fills up. Another suggestion is to bring a lunchbox for work. And so that was something that I packed my own lunch a lot, and so did a couple of my other friends, and so it was helpful to have my own lunchbox that I could pack and keep things in. Most locations will have a fridge somewhere so you can keep things refrigerated or keep an ice pack in it or something, so you can pack a lunch, and that's a good way to save money while you're working and also have a great lunch that you packed yourself. One thing that I know crew recommends, and I would back this up too, is to bring 2 or 3 books. I know I did have some occasions where I was able to read, like when I went to the park and rode the Avatar ride, and I brought a book to read while I was going through the queue. It was just really helpful to have a book that encouraged me spiritually, and also just was helpful to have on hand for reading and for taking a break in the afternoons. All that said though, there wasn't a ton of time for reading books, so I wouldn't recommend packing too many because then they'll end up sitting in your closet and you won't use them. But having a few on hand to read or to swap with other friends if you need something else to read is definitely helpful. So I think that's about all I have. Special shout out to Alexis, Amanda, Ashley, Caleb, Candace, Hannah, Grace, and Jackie for their contributions and suggestions on making this video. They're sweet friends of mine from my summer mission, and I hope that those of you who are getting ready to start your summer missions are able to form amazing bonds like I did with my fellow attendees as well. So thanks so much for watching. Have a magical day. Bye.